regarding this case.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to document that county staff pursuant to section 15.2-2204 of the Virginia Code of the Lancaster Board of Zoning Appeals, all public notification was given to adjacent property owners and ran in the newspaper for 2 weeks, concurrent weeks. What's in your package, gentlemen? What was provided to county staff. Basically, Mr. Marlowe has a 24-foot side yard setback from the residence now, wants to build a 14-foot wide single-story garage, which would give him a 10-foot setback from the property line. He is also the adjacent property owner to this request. He is the adjacent property owner to this request.
All right. Mr. Marlowe, you may take this stand.
Okay.
Repeat your full name.
Matthew David Marlowe.
All right. Do you have any other
I do.
comments on this?
So the way the properties are situated, it's on a point, and I'm the only neighbor. It's my wife's name and my name on, our house, and then my mother's and my name on the house, for what this hearing is about. So I'm asking for the variance approval based on hardship for her so that she can, and on purpose, I did the smallest design, like the smallest garage that would accommodate one vehicle, just so that she can not be in the weather, rain, snow, ice, whatever, so she can pull in and go into the house, undercover. So it's not a, 2-car garage or even a 1.5 or any, it's very small, just to accommodate that. And like I said, I own our house here, and my name is on the house with her as well for her house. My house, mom's house, but it's really both of mine, you know what I mean? So that's essentially it. So it's okay with the neighbors. There is no other neighbor on the other side. It's just marsh.
Just on one side?
Yes, sir. That's pretty much it. It's hoping to get the permit so that, allow access to get in the house, not be in the weather. She's got stenosis in the back and, a leg issue and, that kind of thing, mobility issues. So that's why we're pursuing this.
All right. Steve?
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
Not right now, no, sir.
I have some questions.
All right, Brother John.
I'm a surveyor. I surveyed your house when Connie Conley built it years
Okay.
ago.
Sure.
And I'm having a little confusion with some of the dimensions that are in the folder. Did you get a survey on this property? The one that you and your mother own?
No, we went
Okay,
off of
well,
what
I
was
have a
there.
survey here of it that I used when I surveyed Connie Conley's property.
Okay,
And it shows it as being 0.47 acres. And I checked with Beth Cornwell a little while ago. It's still the same acreage that's on this survey.
okay,
This is the only thing I know of record. It shows a lot 70 feet wide. Your mother's and yours has been 70 feet wide.
Mhm.
Some of the information in the packet shows it being 90 feet wide.
oh,
Did you buy
I don't have
20 more?
I don't have those numbers put to memory, so I don't know.
Well, I can show you
Okay.
this if you'd like to look at it.
Well, I can tell you that what I went off of is there's a stone stub, on the right side, like the marsh side, if in your memory, if you recall.
Right.
Opposite side from our house, and there's a stake on the other. So, the lot is basically like this, to the
Right.
water and to the driveway. So that's what I probably measured off of, if I have a measurement on there.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
there should be a stone on the left side too. It's concrete minor.
Okay.
was set by Mr. Tomlin Keyser. And,
I don't know if that's still there. There's
okay, may not be,
Yeah,
but it was there when I did the survey.
okay,
And that all agreed with what I came up with the boundary.
okay,
And that from that side, the side between your two parcels, it was 70 feet wide. And that's what this plat shows here, 70 feet wide.
okay,
And this calls for concrete markers on all the corners.
okay.
But that one you're talking about on the right side of the property, I'm not sure if that's still the same one.
Well, that's
Anyway,
up back toward the water on that end, that's the
Right.
only one that's still there.
who prepared this drawing, the one that has topo on it, and the house and all that?
That my mother, without me even knowing it, we dealt with an architect first, her name is Michelle Bebbs. I think she's somewhere near Richmond, who did, work for the house stuff. and,
Schematic,
Pardon me?
a schematic showing.
Yeah, so she hired somebody to do that.
I see. Well, that shows 90 feet wide, and the deed shows 70 feet wide.
Okay.
So it's a 20-foot difference. And then, the other thing I did, I took the site plan that I had that was approved by the county back in 1997, when Connie was getting ready to build the house. And I showed that side of your mother's house in relation to the property line. And it scales 13 feet on my drawing,
From the house to the property line?
from the house to the property line. And you're putting a 14-foot garage on that side. If you put a 14-foot garage, now this is just by scale,
Sure.
but my drawing is 1 inch equals 30 feet. And at 1 inch equals 30 feet, a foot is probably about a pencil width. And so I could be off one way or the other, 1 foot.
Right.
But it scales 13 feet to the house that was there when I did Connie's survey. And if you're coming 14 feet and you only got 13, it won't work.
Well, I know, let's see, I'm going off of memory. I think when she inquired about the plat here, she was under the impression that it was 24 or 25 feet from her house to the property line. It was kind of a joke between us because there's a big mulch bed with very mature rose bushes. And she
Right.
was all excited when what she thought she found out, that the property line was actually in the middle of that instead of to the
Right.
beginning of it.
Yeah, well, that girl in Richmond, she shows 24 feet on that side. But she also shows the lot as being 90 feet wide. And according to Commissioner of Revenue's office, it's still 70 feet.
Okay.
So, and according to my records, it's
Right.
70 feet. Because I just went over to Beth and had her look it up before I came in here. I wanted to make
I
sure.
mean, I do permits for docks,
Uh-huh,
so I have those things vividly in my mind, but this, I don't have the
right,
measurements in my mind, or I could comment further, but I don't have that in my mind.
right.
I didn't think that there was going to be any discrepancy when that got pulled, because I assumed they pulled it from county records,
Right.
like a plat or something.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Dave?
It's a tricky one. I mean, usually we hear hardship and it's because of a feature of the property or something out of control that would warrant a reason to go beyond the usual variance. And this is a tricky one because, we're getting a little bit of misinformation as to whether if you did this whole thing, maybe you would be in your own property. If what Charlie's saying is correct. And I'm just looking at this particular plat or survey, and looking at some of these numbers here in the house of 24 feet for that. If I'm bringing that over to here, that's definitely not 24 24 feet if that's the same scale. So that does make me a little nervous. I don't want to, grant you a variance and all of a sudden we went past the property line, now you're under your own property.
Right.
The interesting thing is you essentially own both properties.
Yes, sir.
Is there not a way to move the property line over?
Well, there is if it's titled identical. Bill was telling me that if it was titled, like if it was, my wife's name is Mary, if it was Matt and Mary, like it is Matt and Mary on our house, Connie's old house. And if it was Matt and Mary on my mom's, then we would just move the line and we wouldn't be here today. But it's
Got it.
because it's me and my wife and then me and my mom,
Okay.
It was estate planning why I'm on
Sure,
it, So that's why if it was that way, we'd just move the line slightly. But I didn't even know that we would need to. That was a conversation of move the line so that it wouldn't need a variance at all, This is bringing a whole new question to it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the, normally I can tell you, oh yeah, on such and such a date, I rolled the wheel and I know how many feet it is, because I'm
Yeah.
doing that stuff quite a bit,
Understood.
for other things.
Yeah, I'm just a little nervous about not having all the facts in front of me to make a sound judgment on this one.
Would it be reasonable for me to do a physical measurement from that concrete stub that is on the northeast corner, the water side toward the marsh, and measure over to the stake that I know of, of what I feel, when we bought the properties,
Right.
we, like anybody would be, oh, there's a marker,
Right.
comes out to the road. I mean, if I measure and it's 70 feet, then, I hear you, but if it's not 70 feet, is that something that we could revisit and then you all confer between yourselves without a meeting to approve? I'm just trying to be reasonable and logical,
Yeah. Well, I'll throw this in there too. Let's just say it is in fact 90 and not 70, and you're still asking for 14 feet in this good? If we get to that point, that isn't in fact the case. The other challenge is, it's rare that we, if ever, do we ever say that a medical issue is a hardship. And that's nothing against your mother or anything.
No, I'm not, I don't take it that way.
It's a hard one to justify, because then that could be like a blanket excuse for almost anybody to say, hey, I've got a bad hip, I've got a whatever, I need to be this close to the line. That opens up Pandora's box. So I'd hate for you to go through all this work, find out it is 90, and then come back and we still say, hey, this might not be considered a hardship. Me speaking to you as more of a friend, I'd say get that line straightened out, and if you can, in fact, just move that line enough to make this be a non-issue and get the garage and everything done without dealing with us, that's gonna be your probably simplest road.
You say get the line moved?
Well, if you can get the line moved or get that measurement figured out before moving too far down the path, just to come back up here and then have us say, hey, it's not actually a hardship, we're still not okay with it.
You could also consider moving the garage to the back of the house. If there was some way you could make it work out back there, breezeway or loading it from the backside. I know you couldn't come up, if there's only 13 feet on the side of that side of the house, there's no way you could turn into the garage right at the back corner, but you could go beyond it and come around and come into the garage that way. So there's other ways to work it out, and you can also adjust lot lines, and unless there's mortgages involved, you can always just, everybody agrees to move the line a certain way, you can do that. I know it's in different ownerships now, but
So, well, this may not make any difference, but being that you surveyed it, you know, so her house is here, my house is here, and it's marsh on this side. Well, you know,
Right.
family, probably, you know, hey, we're gonna cut half acre out for Aunt, I forget what her name was, you know, I'm sure that's how that lot came about.
Right.
So we own, it's 3.5 acres, so we own the house and the point,
Right.
but then we own on the other side of my mother's house, a strip
Yeah,
out to
you
that
own a lot
point
of it
there as
over there
well.
too.
So I,
But there's one thing you can't do. You can't make a non-conforming lot more non-conforming. So your lot right now that the mother has is non-conforming. A conforming lot would be 2 acres minimum, and it's .47 acres. So as long as you stayed above the 4.47, you can shift the lines.
Mhm.
So you're not making it more non-conforming than it already is.
well, what I was thinking about doing was just that little bit of land on the other side, just giving it to her. You know, it's me, but, you know, making
Right.
that part of it to make that bigger. But that doesn't do anything for that measurement off the, you know, where the garage is needed. It would just make the whole thing bigger.
Right.
But it would definitely increase the overall measurement.
Oh, yeah, it would.
So I have been thinking about that even aside from this. So that would definitely increase that measurement, you know, across the lot, for sure.
That's right.
So, you know, I don't know, would that impact it? Having a, instead of, if it is 70, you know, if I did that and then it was wider, would that affect, you know, you all's outlook on it?
Right.
Well, I don't think so unless you put the garage on the other side of the house. Because you're still gonna run into the same encroachment,
Mm-hmm.
because that particular line's not moving, right? The one between you and your,
Correct.
I mean,
Right. I
you're,
mean, it
that
could
line,
go-
you're adding on to this side.
Well, you know, when you have a garage leading into the kitchen, you know, the old side door into the kitchen, you know, that if it was on the other side of the house, it would be right into a bedroom, so that probably wouldn't work. So, okay.
But the first thing you have to do is find out what you have down there
Mhm.
and go from there. Because I think it's 70 feet wide. Whoever drew your plans up thinks it's 90 feet wide.
Mhm.
And so there's 20 feet extra there. And according to the county records, it's 70 feet wide.
Okay. Well, if I take a measuring wheel and to save a trip for somebody to come out there, if I videotape and email it to Bill for him to look at, you know, just so he can see for himself the
Well,
measurement,
If
is
Bill
that?
wants to accept that, that's fine, you know.
I mean, I'm just trying to, you know, save people from having to run around for things like this that are pretty simple, so,
Usually I get involved in things to prove things.
sure.
Because if my seal goes on it, they can come back on me.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Mhm.
But if Bill wants to accept it and have another meeting, we can do that.
Anything, Bill?
I don't know that we've ever done that, sir. A decision's normally made for the hearing. Otherwise, we'd have to re-advertise for another public hearing.
I think it can be continued out. It seems to me, haven't we done when we
I feel like we
continued
have,
Yeah,
a hearing out?
I thought we did.
I'm not sure, but it seems to me we have. I thought maybe.
Well, if you all are gonna, I mean, if you're gonna end up ruling against it for the hardship part, and I can't, you know, I don't think the other side of the house is gonna be an option, because there's no way to enter the house. So if it, going on where it's proposed, if that doesn't, if you all end up ruling against that for, you know, hardship, then I would probably just drop it, because I don't know how I would do it. I have a permit right now to put a porch across the back, and there's already piers, I mean, they're gonna inspect, like, maybe today, you know. So that whole garage coming in, like you said, is not a bad idea, but it's a, you know, day late and a dollar short for what I've got going on right now, so.
well, could we do this? I mean, this is a little unorthodox, but let's presume the lot is as it's stated, and that he's asking for a 14-foot encroachment. How would we vote on that if that was the case today? I'm just trying to save him from spending another $400 or $500 to come back to us to do the same thing.
If you're going to assume that it's 90 foot wide, it's completely up to you guys.
I mean, I still have a tough time coming around to the hardship piece, so I'm kind of waffling here. If one of these guys said something to flip me over, I might.
I don't know that we can just assume something.
I know, I'm just trying to save him from having to.
Yeah, I understand,
come right
you know,
back to-
I understand, but I don't know that we just assume it's gonna be something and not know and vote on it.
Well, we're not voting, I guess I'm kind of like simulating a vote.
So,
We're the facts presented accurately.
Chairman Sorensen, your question is, we're assuming what?
But that it's 90 feet. I mean, it still doesn't,
In prior hearings, we wouldn't have known that. We would have gone off what the applicant has provided the county.
that's true. but
So what would, you know, I think what Mr. Nichols is asking, would you approve this as a hardship for the 90 feet?
I'd only have one question, because according to code, we can approve for physical hardship. And I don't have a problem with doing that, but I would ask, you know, a little bit more about what the physical hardship would be. I know you said her leg, and that's about all you said, but we can approve for something like that.
She's got stenosis and, I'm terrible at remembering the names of things, but it's back and leg numbness and pain and stuff like that, so mobility's going downhill. I
wouldn't
wish
have a
I could
problem-
remember the name of what. she-
Yeah, and that's fine, and I don't have a problem with approving something like that, as long as I know that there's a hardship, because it's right here in the code that we can do it. But not knowing where the lot line is, what Charlie's brought up, and I know what you just said, Bill, but what we have is what we have, but now we have more than what we had. So,
So, I mean, are we
And
going to base every hearing off of somebody going out taking measurements now?
I don't know, I don't know what to do now.
And the other thing I have to go off is, you know, I cut my own grass, right? So,
Right.
you know, there's a stone stub on the water side. There's a stone stub on the, you know, toward the marsh side of it. And on the left side toward my house, there's a PVC pipe, I believe it's over top of probably a piece of rebar or something. And that, I assumed, was in place of a once stone stub, you know, and of course I didn't touch it because, you know, I assumed it was the property line. And it appears logical to be, you know, when you look at how the property lays. So, and I didn't pay for a survey because, you know,
So, Mr.
for what,
Wallace,
it's, you know, it's my house too, so they're both mine.
so you were thinking that it was 70 feet. You didn't know anything but the 90 feet.
I don't have a number in my head, not 70 or 90 at all, by memory. I would have to look at my application, and I don't remember, to be perfectly honest with you.
The 90 feet came from the thing the girl in Richmond did for his
Okay.
mother. She drew the
Oh, I
lot.
see, yep.
She drew the lot and showed it on the water. She shows a house that's 24 feet on the left side of the house.
I see that.
She shows the lot as being 90 feet of frontage on Ivy Creek Road, and then the distances around it. I don't know where she came up with those, but that's what she gave him, and then she plotted the house on there.
My guess
Then,
is it probably came from an online source, because the
well,
person who
there's
did this-
another drawing in here, it's an aerial photo that shows property lines superimposed on the aerial photo. And that also shows more than 13 feet on the left side of the house. So I don't know what this source is here. Is this something that Google Earth did, that they
This-
pulled up? I don't know.
I printed,
But anyway, those two drawings agree with what he's trying to do and what he thinks he has there. But before I came in here today, I went to Beth and I said, can you look this parcel up and see the acreage? And she said, yes, 0.47 acres. And 0.47 this is the one that when Connie County built it, this is what I had to work with. And I went out there and found these concrete markers that were set by Charlie Tomlin back in '65. And what I found at that time agreed with this. He claims there's another concrete monument, he thinks, on the marsh side. And it could be. Monuments get moved, people move them, other surveyors move them. I don't know, but when I went down there, I verified this plat against what I did for Connie Conley. Because she got it from her, it was her mother's mother used to live there, had a little cottage there. And that's how she got it. They tore the cottage down, Connie built the house there, and bought the whole piece of property. And so it goes all the way around that property, like he said, it has waterfront on both sides, but on the right side, it's mostly a marsh. I also surveyed the land across the road from him, where that lady lived over there years ago, and her husband left her, and then she died a while back, and I surveyed the property on the right side of his house, over there, that house that sits up on the hill. So I'm very familiar with the area. And so when this came up, I just pulled my file out and started looking at it. And then I took my site plan that was done for Connie Conley and scaled from the edge of the existing house to the property line. I was coming up with 13 feet. And that doesn't jive with what all this other stuff shows that was submitted to Bill. And if it was that wide, it may, but if you accept where the house is and where the drain field is, you haven't got a whole lot of room on that side of the house,
True.
you know?
They-
Because there's
yeah,
setbacks from the drain field you gotta worry about too. You can't crowd that drain field too much. And, my drawing shows existing house, and I scaled 13 feet to the property line. And then it shows a bunch of trees that were supposed to be planted there. I don't know if they were or not. And then the drain field. The drain field's only about 10 feet off the line. That sounds like probably that's a minimum requirement, of 10 feet from the property line to the drain field.
So gentlemen, if I could point out,
Pardon?
if I can point out this drawing right here, which was done by the architect in Richmond. The house is proposed to be 34 feet long with a 10-foot side yard setback on the right side of the property. If we go by what Mr. Pruitt is saying, 70 feet wide minus 44 feet gives him a side yard setback of 26 feet. He wants to encroach 14, which leaves him with a 12-foot side yard setback. And we're going by 70 feet wide for the property, not 90. Keep in mind, the other side of the property is already 10 feet from the property line, so it's already a non-conforming use. If you grant the variance, he would not be able to sell the property until he moves the property line on his property.
I feel the same way Steve does about the hardship.
Uh-huh.
I would love for you to get it, but I don't want to work with things that aren't true.
Oh, no, I'm the last person, I don't wanna, if that, life happens, you don't know what's gonna happen, so if something's gonna hem something up from a property being sold or something like that, should it ever need to be,
Right,
I don't wanna be in that situation,
right.
So, yeah, that's, I don't have anything else to input, I certainly don't wanna be in a trick bag or something like that,
So, Bill, you said that based on the information that was supplied to us, it would only be it'd be 14-foot setback from one lot to the other,
10.
10. Yeah, I don't like telling people what they can do with the property. I've said that before, especially since we're pretty much neighbors. And coming into this, if what you're saying and what you've presented is correct, I don't have a problem with it. you said your mother has problems, physical, it says right here in the code that that's part of what we can do, and I don't have a problem doing it. You're giving out information that you're checking on, and you've got information. It makes it a little bit tougher than it has been in the past. I don't know how
I
you
don't mean
all
to be
feel
your
about it.
problem child this morning.
If we base it on what we've been told, I do not have a problem with granting his request. If we base it on what he presents to us. I know you said something and Bill said something, and they sort of conflict a little bit. I don't know who's got it right this time. I do know exactly where he's at. I've been up there before. Go ahead, ask.
Theoretically, let's pretend that Charlie's right, and we grant this, and suddenly this garage is built through the whole variance and now is like 1 foot over onto the other property, your property. Does that fall back onto us?
I don't think it falls back onto us because we're working off the information that's been presented to us.
Okay.
We don't know this until he gets a survey, if a survey was to be done. At that point in time, it's gonna be up to him to make all the adjustments to sell whatever he decides to sell. If I'm right or wrong,
You're right. You're right, sir.
we're working off what's presented, what he presented to us. That's what we're doing. I don't know anything for a fact. So, that's the way I look at it. He's asking for a variance because he has a hardship.
Yeah, I'm okay with that part. Not only thing is like, I'm just looking at, that's 24. That can't be more than that. Like looking at that being 8.5, I'm just following that as a scale. And that's making me question, because if that's supposed to be 14 feet.
That one's not the scale.
I was gonna say,
This
it's a
one's the
scale.
scale.
Okay.
That's 1 inch equals 30 feet here. That's the scale. That's reduced for this meeting only, okay?
Well, then I think Steve's right.
And you can see, this is 1 inch equals 30 feet. So from the property line over is 13 feet by scale. You see, now this wall is 42 feet, you see, well, it's scaling about 41 there. So this is to scale. Plus, this is the one that Beth Cornwell says he owns, and has 70 feet on the road here, concrete marker, concrete marker, concrete marker. When I did this, I found a concrete marker right here. I figured he owned a little closer to the road, but I held it for this line. I found a concrete marker back here and ran it out to the water. So I didn't show the other side, but I surveyed this property too. But I had 2 concrete markers here, and I located that house to make sure that everything worked out over here. The drain field didn't get too close to it or what. This is what Beth says is a record. I said, what acres you show? 4.7. But this drawing here says he has 90 feet on the road. This was prepared by the young lady in Richmond who drew this plan up for his mother. So I don't think this drawing's correct. And then you've got this that's in the file that shows the house with a good, bigger distance on this side than what I think it is. But I don't know how accurate this is.
That's just the language.
This is Google Earth
Yeah,
probably.
right.
And this was probably given to him by the girl in Richmond too.
Well, this is the problem when you invite Charlie to one of these meetings. You get a little too much information. I think the only thing we can do today is vote for what we know.
That's right.
And
I'm ready for a motion.
Based on the information
That's right.
we have been presented by the person requesting the variance, I would make a motion that the hardship would be his mother's mobility, physical, problems, and that we would grant the motion he has asked for.
Can we get a second?
I will second that.
It has been moved and proper second. The information that we have received pertaining this case will be granted. And the hardship because of his mother also. All in favor?
I'll vote for it, but I think we're setting a bad precedent if we're voting on something that could be wrong. And, I want to go for the hardship. I want his mother to be
Right.
able to do what she needs to do, but I think we need the correct information to us when we have to make these decisions.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
I will tell you that if it involves having to move a property line, it gets all complicated like that, I won't build it. Whether it's a permit in my hand or not, I won't build it. 'Cause I'm an early retired narcotics detective. I don't have time for that in my brain anymore. I don't want to be involved.
You say you don't want to move a property line. Is that what you're saying?
I would rather not have to move a property line, to sell the property, because, one day I might have to, I don't want to get in that, I don't want to get in a position where I have to move, like legally move the ownership, move the property line. I'd rather you all just turn me down and have your precedent not set with me.
Well, what we've
You know what I mean?
done-
I'm a very middle of the road, logical thinking guy, I don't want to get in, I don't want to come in here requesting, an exception to let me, whatever, for the property line so that it will allow me to sell a house when I've got a buyer, should that day ever come. When I got a buyer that wants to buy it and I can't sell it because of some technicality, I'd just soon not build the garage. You know what I mean?
Well, the only way you're gonna be able to find that out that I can think of is to get a survey of the lot and then find out. Because what was, like I said, what we've done is granted, it's been approved and granted that you can do what you asked to do.
Yeah.
Based on what you've given us. But if you go out and find out it's different when you go to sell the house, then
Right.
If you go ahead and we approve it, and you go out there and build something 14 feet off of the house, you're gonna be a foot over on the other line. Then you're gonna really have a problem when you go to sell one or the
Well,
other.
I assure you, I know you made a motion and it was second and all that, I assure you that I won't build it if I find out that it's a foot over, because it's not that important. I mean, it is, but it isn't, you know what I mean? So I really thank you all for your time and all the effort. So I'm just saying, if you continue and it's approved and there's a permit in my hand, trust me, I'm not gonna put myself in that position. And I don't think that would ever affect somebody saying, well, that was a precedent, because look what's going on at the Marlowe residence, So you all feel free to retract your motion if you want to, but I don't want to confuse anything, but,
What they've approved is a 10-foot side yard setback. If you can't meet that
Okay.
after the building, then it can't be.
Okay.
So that's what's approved, is a
Okay.
10-yard side yard setback, just so we're aware.
Correct.
He's not going to build something that's a foot over. He can't.
no,
He's approved for a 10-foot
setback.
side yard setback.
Okay.
All in favor, right?
Aye.
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 Steve?
Yeah.
Aye. Those opposed?
Okay. I'm crystal clear on what I need to do.
Yes, sir.
If you can't meet that, then obviously you
Yeah,
can't build.
if I want to swing a hammer on building a garage, I will do the survey, make sure that conforms. And if it doesn't, then Bill can tell me now, or Jim, whoever, So, okay. Thank you all very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
No other business from county standpoint, sir?
All right. Steve, you don't have anything, right?
No, we're still, we got a meeting tonight, and we're doing, chapter 7 of the, comprehensive plan. Because I think we do, comprehensive plan every year, don't we, Chris? Every year. Yeah, exactly, it never stops. When you finish it, it starts back up again. But other than that, no.
All right.
Except it was a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, pleasure to see all of you. Missed you all.
We need to get some more Charlie on this board, this is fun.
Yes, sir.
Y'all probably wondering, why did they put me on
No,
me on this
no,
board to
no,
start all
no.
this shit up?
No. All right, motion for adjourn.
Second.
Moving proper second. We are adjourned. All in favor? Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out.